Good morning, class 11A. This is Miss Seshu. In the topic Transport in Mammals, we are looking today for the subtopic Transport of respiratory gases between the lungs and respiring tissues. The references are in the course book, page 161, 162, 163. So these are the learning outcomes in the topic. Describe the role of hemoglobin in carrying of oxygen and carbon dioxide with reference to the role of carbonic anhydrase, the formation of hemoglobinic acid and carbaminohemoglobin. The second one, demonstrate the significance of oxygen dissociation curves of adult oxyhemoglobin at different carbon dioxide concentrations, that is Bohr effect. The third one, describe and explain the significance of the increase in the red blood cells count of humans at high altitude. So let's start the topic. So here you can see how the hemoglobin transforms into oxyhemoglobin. You have already learned in the chapter Proteins and Water that each hemoglobin molecule is built of 4 interlocking subunits composed of a large globular protein with a non-protein hemo group containing iron is attached with that. Okay. So, in fact, a single red blood cell contains about 280 million molecules of hemoglobin. So here in the picture you can see this is the heme group containing of 4 iron molecules. That means each heme group will be catching one oxygen molecule. That means the first oxygen molecule is attaching to the heme group, it will be little difficult. But when it is attached to the heme group once and from the next chance of the oxygen molecule is very easily obtained. So you can see first one is attaching to the heme group and then the next one and the third one and then the fourth one. So like this, the hemoglobin particle is attached with the single oxygen molecule and then double and then triple and then 4. So here is the equation: hemoglobin molecule combines with 4 oxygen molecules to make oxyhemoglobin. And then you can see here the oxygen binding affinity is gradually passing as from the lower gradient, concentration gradient to the high concentration gradient. So now you can see here 4 subunits interlocked to form a compact molecule of oxyhemoglobin. And here you can see only one molecule of oxygen. Here we can say that this is the oxygen retained here, and then the part of the other, these all we can say heme group, that is non-protein, and each one we can say globin, that is with protein. A combination of protein and non-protein means that hemoglobin is a conjugated protein. So here the gas transport in the blood. Let's have a look. Oxygen forms oxyhemoglobin with hemoglobin molecules, and carbon dioxide is transported via bicarbonate in plasma. So let us see how the oxygen is inhaled and how it is exhaled as carbon dioxide. So here you can see the oxygen is inhaled by a person through the nose and it enters into the lungs, and in the alveoli you can see the oxygen here, and it is transferred to the blood by the process called diffusion. So now the oxygen is diffuses into the blood. From here, the red blood cells carry the oxygen to the heart, and from there it is carrying into the veins. That means systemic veins. Here you can see the cells are waiting to take the oxygen from the blood. So these cells taken the oxygen by the process of diffusion. So that means here also the oxygen diffuses into the cells. Here this is the place the diffusion is going on, that means exchange of gases is going on here. So these cells took the oxygen and transfers the carbon dioxide into the blood. That means carbon dioxide diffuses to the blood here. And then most carbon dioxide travels in the blood as bicarbonate ions, that is we can say HCO3 minus. Okay, so bicarbonate ions are reached to the heart, and from there it will be going through the pulmonary arteries into the alveoli as a carbon dioxide. Here the carbon dioxide is released in its gaseous form to the alveoli. Then this carbon dioxide finally reaches as exhaled by the nose. Okay, so this is the process is going on. Gas exchange in the lungs. So here you can see the picture. These are bronchioles. Okay, so here deoxygenated blood coming from pulmonary artery, and here oxygen rich blood going to the pulmonary vein. So here alveoli, and this is the section of the part blood capillaries here. Here from the lungs, the alveoli, the thin layer of alveolus is giving out oxygen, and from the cells it is taking carbon dioxide. So here you can see the graph. This shows the relationship between hemoglobin and oxygen as the concentration of oxygen around the hemoglobin molecule changes. Here you can see PO2, that is indicates that partial pressure of oxygen. Okay, here on y-axis you can see the percentage of oxygen, that is saturation of hemoglobin, and here oxygen content of whole blood in the percentage of milliliters. Okay, so here this we can say oxygen dissociation curve. This is the curve, this we call it as oxygen dissociation curve. This curve is in S shaped. This tells us that the first oxygen molecule attaches with difficulty. As I told you in the picture, in the first picture I showed you, the first oxygen molecule is attaching to the hemoglobin is in very difficult manner. This is because the addition of the first oxygen molecule has to slightly distort the shape of the hemoglobin molecule. So as we know that for the first molecule of oxygen is attaching to the hemoglobin part in a difficult manner. For as per the second one attaching, and then it is more easily by the third and fourth to combine with the hemoglobin. So here you can see the graph, it is in the partial pressure of oxygen at 28 mmHg here. So when you see on the x-axis, this is on 28 mm, and the saturation of hemoglobin is at 50. Okay. Here you can see the 40 at the level of 40 on x-axis is the tissues at rest. That means this is the resting position of the tissues. That means they are waiting until the four molecules of the oxygens are attached to the hemoglobin. Once they have been attached to the hemoglobin, they will be passing it into the blood. So here you can see oxygen dissolved in plasma. Okay.